Welcome to the 2021 Masters of the American West Wildlife Sculptors Breakout Sessions with Dan Ostermiller, Tim Scheinebarger, and Marjorie Torrey. Dan Ostermiller's bronze sculptures. The Lynx. And The Safe Place. Tim Scheinebarger's bronze sculptures. Out of the North. The Wild Horse Island Ram. Taking a Break. And Wapiti. And last but not least, Marjorie Torrey's sculptures. Face to Face, bronze on marble. Quail Hunt, bronze on black marble. Bunny Love. And finally, Mystic Warrior.
Just to answer your question about when they're finished, I'll say it's done and get it through just because I need to get it somewhere out of the studio. But inevitably, when it's all finished and cast in bronze, I see a lot of things that I would have done different. That's all about how an artist grows. And how a style develops is you have to be critical of your own work. And so I'm always seeing things that I would have done differently. And that's how it evolves, because in the next piece that you do, you'll take some of those things that you wanted to change in the other pieces and apply them, and you keep applying them and applying them until all of a sudden the piece is totally unique and totally you.
And I'm going to circle back only because I'm interested. The Lynx, which is behind me, which is in Masters 2021, is the biggest version of it is for the University of Colorado.
Right.
But you don't do commissions. So they didn't commission you?
No, I said I generally don't. I don't.
Okay,
sometimes I do. And especially, during the pandemic, it's been tough. And so artists have had to do things that they normally don't do. But fortunately, I never say never, but my general thing is I don't do them. but these people were wonderful to work with, and they gave me a ton of leeway and freedom of design and expression. And so that's not so bad. You know, they basically just said, this is the subject matter we want. We don't know how we want it done. You do it for us.
Because speaking to your point about character earlier, I think this guy or girl, I don't know if you've gendered them, definitely has character. So I think to circle on something that you did say, maybe if it's the right person who offers a commission with a little bit of artistic freedom, you still have that character that's so important to the nature of your work.
Right.
How important are titles? How do you come up with them? This is something I'm very interested in personally, because I feel like even a public program or an academic journal that I'm contributing to, I never know what to title my writing. So how does one come up with a title for a sculpture?
Well, it's tough sometimes. I mean, the one behind you isn't very creative. It's links. I mean, it is what it is. But then sometimes I'll have a piece that, you know, means a lot to me, like The Safe Place. I mean, that title definitely reflects that, you know, my mother and how I feel about her being so far away from me. Even though she's in the same town, she's in the nursing home and I can't see her. So, you know, so I don't speak Spanish, but I was so influenced by Francisco Zuniga in my work that, his titles were so romantic because mostly they were in Spanish. And so I also have a Mexican-born girlfriend, and so she helps me with a lot of my titles because some of them I think sound much more romantic in Spanish than they do in English. So just like I think there was another, not that little owl that you have, John, but there's one called Peladorcito, which is a little fighter, and that was a little sawwood owl. And figuring he's so small, he's got to fight constantly to survive. And so, you know, I gave him that title, as Little Fighter.
We will be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. So just wanting to see if there is anyone here that has another question or comment. We can feel free to put it in the chat, unmute yourselves. I have plenty of questions for Dan, so I am happy to keep talking, but.
No. Dan,
Yeah.
I'm Deborah, and I'd like to know or learn something about your studio, how it's laid out and how you work within it and what's important to you about that environment that you work in.
That's a great question. I love my studio. I built it all. It sits on a little under 2 acres right in the center of Loveland, Colorado, downtown. In fact, the address is 100 West First Street, so it's about as center as you can get. And it has 3 buildings on it. One is the first building you come to is a little gallery and office space and stuff where my secretary is and things. Then the next building is where I do my large scale works and the production work, which is, it's about, it has high 20-foot ceilings, and I can do huge pieces in there. And I work a little differently than a lot of artists do. I just have the foundries do the rough castings, and the rough castings come to my studio where the bronze sections are welded together and all finished right in front of me with my own people. And so I have a really good control over the finished product that when it's finished. And we do all the patinas here and stuff like that. So that building's for that size. It's like 100 by 40 by 20-foot ceilings. And then where I'm at now is my studio where I do what a lot of my inspirational kind of things. You can see it's yellow walls. I love yellow. And so it just inspires me when I walk in here. That's what I wanted to create, was a place that inspired creativity. And I wanted to feel that way all the time if I possibly could, or at least be in a place where the chance of that happening is better than if you're in some place that you're not really happy with. But I'm also a hobby chef. So in my studio, I have a full commercial kitchen, and while I'm sculpting, when I take my break, I go stir sauces and things like that. So I cook every day, and I studied in Italy 5 different times, and I love doing that. It's another part of my creativity, I guess, the way I want to channel it. So unfortunately, it doesn't do great things for my waistline. And then we also over here have mold storage and things like that. So it's a pretty big facility. And the city now we're looking at trying to turn it into a cultural center eventually when I retire, which doesn't seem like that'll ever happen, but leave that it'll become part of this Loveland because of this large sculpture community here, and it'll tell the history of the sculpture community in Loveland.
How do you replenish your thinking or your mind? Are there days that you're drained and you need to replenish and step away? Do you have long spells, short spells, or do they vary?
It does vary. I definitely do have times. There's several things. Of course, dealing with the pandemic and all this sort of stuff and those sorts of things causes your mind to go in different directions. So best thing to do is not watch television or anything like that, or the news. But the best thing I can do is get out and be with animals, or go someplace where, it's so nice where I live here. I'm only 30 miles from Rocky Mountain National Park. I mean, I can go up into the park and just, get my, revitalized. So it's hit or miss. The other side of what we do is, as artists, is we also have to run the business side of things. And that can be distracting. And so it's hard to just set a time when you work. It's always been hard for me. It's just, thank God I'm fast at what I do. I mean, I've been sculpting for so long that if I get an idea, I can really get it down quickly. If it wasn't for that, I don't know how I get it, a lot of work finished. So it's a constant balancing act.
Understandable. Well, again, we really want to tell you how much value, in many regards, your piece has given us in our home. And quite frankly, it's quite inspirational too. It actually draws many, many different emotions and feelings. And we're quite proud and feel very fortunate to have it.
That's a wonderful thing to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, do you have a preferred edition size?
Smaller pieces are generally in the edition of 20. Mm-hmm. Large scale pieces go from one of a kind to, these days, 9, sometimes 12. Just depends on the size of the piece and if I think it's going to be popular or not, or sometimes the piece is so special to me, I don't want to make very many of them.
And how many editions of hold on, I don't have my notes. I don't want to misquote your title. Safe at Home?
The safe place.
The Safe Place. Thank you.
There were 20 in that edition. 3 of them are available for the.
3 of them are available. And we did have a question come in. I think I'm interested in it too. I do want to take this moment before Dan answers to say thank you to him, because in 3 minutes, we're going to be moved, not forcefully, but without our agency, to the main room. But we had someone ask, are you a fan of the Great British Baking Show? Are you more of a baker or a cook? What is a chef cook? I've never heard of this category. This is new knowledge.
I am definitely not a baker.
Okay.
I'm not a dessert guy, really. I'm not a big sweets guy. So, I mean, I do it when I host dinner parties, but it's not my preference.
So is there something, you mentioned that you studied in Italy. Is it always Italian food? Do you get really good Italian produce in Colorado? Tell us more about this cooking. It's so interesting.
Oh, I have some friends that own a fabulous company called Italco, which is based in Denver, and they are suppliers of Italian products for the restaurant industry. So I can get just about anything you can get in New York, I can get here. But I cook all kinds of things. I mean, you name it. It's not just Italian food. I like experimenting with Asian cuisine, all kinds of things. And then I try, as part of the giving back thing, I once or twice a year, I'll auction off a dinner here at my studio for charity.
And like you kind of took taxidermy, but ran your own way with it. Was cooking important to your family? Was this something passed down or uniquely you?
My mother loved to cook, and my father did too. I mean, they both had their specialties, but I don't know. I think it was born from just loving to eat.
Yeah, I like to eat, so I like to cook. But I like to bake. I'm more of a scientist. I like the exact measurements. To taste, to me, is a little intimidating. Leaving it up for your own interpretation, but I don't consider myself an artist. So I think baking comes more naturally to my science brain.
Yeah. Traveling so much, and I had an apartment in New York for 15 years, and the restaurants are just fabulous there. And I think a lot of my passion for cooking came from, I would come to little town of Loveland, Colorado. And trust me, we don't have a lot of great restaurants here. And for me to get what I consider great food, I had to do it myself. And so I think a lot of that happened because of that.
Well, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for being here and sharing space with us. Thank Dan for engaging in this conversation. I hope we kept it interesting and y'all on your toes. Thank you so much for your questions, which informed the conversation. We'll be moved to the main room in the next 35 seconds. And I think Amy will wrap us up with some words, and there'll be maybe another pre-recorded video. So thank you, Dan. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting you.